Hello, Mr. Randy Duck, and welcome back for another video. Today I have two replays to show you in the brand new Tier 10 Mercenary Tank Destroyer, which was released today in the Season Pass. This is the Ultimate Season Pass Reward Tank. Now, what is this tank? This is a tank destroyer, a Tier 10 tank destroyer, which basically has the, I believe, the Czech Tier 8 heavy tank hull chassis, an E4, well, worse version of the E4 turret, because the turret cheeks aren't as strong as the E4, and it basically has the Death Star and the FV1005 gun, but a worse version of the gun. Basically worse reload and slightly worse soft stats, basically, so it's not as accurate, etc. Now, before I get into the replay of the tank, I'll quickly say a few bits for it. I mean, I'm quite a positive person, generally, you should probably see from my other videos, but I did feel I needed to talk about it. I mean, is this tank good for the game? I mean, it's another high alpha Tier 10 tank destroyer, which I just don't think you need. It's basically got the same gun as a Death Star and the FV05, so you've got 1,150 alpha on your standard AP rounds with your 310 penetration. You then got your HESH rounds of 230 penetration with 1,450 alpha. You then got your HE rounds with 92 penetration with 1,650 alpha. So I don't think we needed it. I mean, this tank is probably the worst out of the bunch when it comes to the high alpha tank destroyers you have in the game now. I don't think it's very good. I don't think it's as good as the Death Star or the FV1005, if I'm honest. It's okay, you don't get me wrong, but do we really need it? I'm not so sure. And we also, I just don't get bringing it out as the Ultimate Season Pass Award. You know, we don't seem to have learned any lessons from the Avery. When we released the Avery out, you then see whole lobbies of Tier 10s just full of the same tank. And when it is a tank like this, you know, those high alpha games, you know, if you're a Tier 8 tank or something like that, trying to grind a new Tier 8 line, it can ruin your game. So anyway, that's enough of that, because like I say, I'm a positive person, but I did feel like I needed to share my opinion. Like I said, this is just my opinion. I appreciate that other people may have different opinions, and you're completely entitled to that. I just wanted to share my own. But anyway, that's enough for that. I am going to show you what the tank can do. I've got two replays. The first one is featuring myself. The second replay is actually featuring a friend of mine, Wizzy. You'll see his gaming tag on the thumbnail. Very good player, and he's been kind enough to give us this replay so we can get out to you today on release and see what the tank can do. So that's enough of me rambling. I'm sure you're bored of me rambling already. Let's get on with the replay. Okay, so on to the first replay here then on El Main. There is no light tanks in this game. There is no enemy fun police. We have a ton of enemy Ruthlesses, as to be expected. As I say, it's a season pass reward, ultimate reward tank, so a lot of people want to try out the tank, causing there to be a lot of them in the matchmaking. Now, this tank has a 38 kilometers an hour top speed with a 750 brake horsepower engine. So when you're on the flat surfaces, you do reach a top speed. So it's not the slowest of tanks, it's not the quickest either. It can feel a little bit sluggish to play. I mean, the turret traverse speed is not fantastic either. It's obviously got a derp gun, so you do really need to fully aim your shots. Otherwise you will have a lot of shots miss. And you have quite a long reload. I think it's like 4 or 5 seconds longer than the FV1005. So if you miss that shot, it can punish you. It can really hurt when you miss those shots, because if you're on a game where you've got lots of, you know, you've got a good team, for example, and they're winning the game quickly, if you miss a shot, you can struggle to get your damage out just because of the pure fact that you don't have a very quick reload. So you want to be hitting the shots when you get the opportunity, and you really want to be taking your time. So this Victoria, it looked like he was going to push around, and I managed to slap an AP round straight into him for around 700 damage, picking up our first kill of the game. Each round on this tank is quite effective in its own right. You've got the AP round with that 310 pen. You then got 230 HESH pen on your premium rounds. with that sort of 1400 alpha, which is nice. And then you have that HE pen for like 1650, and you can, like things like the waffle, you can stuff like that, because it's got 100 alpha roughly, or 90 alpha, you can pen them. And it's also good for splashing targets which are like on lower health, 400, 500 health, because it's got such big alpha, you will splash very high. So it's good for finishing off tanks like that, or tanks you just can't pen. So because of that factor, I do run the advanced reloader, or so you can swap between the shells without penalty, because you do have, or penalty, sorry, my English is not great there, because you want to be able to swap between them for what situation arises, because like I say, you have a long reload, you're not always going to know what round you want. So I do think it's a good option to use. If you're not too bothered about swapping the rounds, you might want to run something to get your aim time down instead. Like I say, that's kind of up to you really, that's up to your play style, but I did share what I use. So I have taken sort of an aggressive middle. I do snap that shot in, and thankfully it hits. And that, often that shot would miss there, but I didn't want to take the opportunity to get shot back. So I took that shot, and thankfully it hits for us, putting us up to 1700 damage. And like I say, I've taken a position in the centre of the map, which I might not necessarily took if there was a light tank in the game or lots of mediums. But I knew there's a lot of slow tank destroyers in this game, so I knew I'd have more freedom to use this position, if you like, without the fear of getting like full sent or rushed. I didn't think that was going to be a factor, so I just put myself in the middle of the map, so I knew I'd have shots at multiple angles wherever the enemy team went. So we missed a shot on the E4 earlier. Got to be careful, because I've got a Ruthless just in front of me. There is also one starting to push around the left, but they don't really look, they're not paying attention to me at the moment. I'm going to try and help my buddy out here with this IS-4. We make sure we aim the shot. We use the AP rounds because I didn't want to get absorbed in his track or anything like that on that IS-4. And we slap him again for 1,100. And now I need to pull back to be in cover, because we are actually losing this game, but it is fairly close at the moment. So I'm trying to do my best to stay safe. I'm also trying to do my best to keep these tanks in front of me, especially that Ruthless on the right, proxy spotted. Like I say, I only have 6 degrees of gun depression in this tank, so ridge lines is not ideal to play. You can make some work with 6 degrees, but it's far from ideal. There is going to be positions you're going to struggle with, basically. And I'm struggling to get shots as that Ruthless on the right because of that. So I was just trying to keep him proxy spotted so that he gets shot by our friendly teammates. At least that's the plan, basically. I don't want to overextend to get a shot in, because I'm going to have to come full up over. He's then going to pen me, and maybe he pens me with the HESH rounds, because the front armour of this tank, it's not good. I mean, you got the E4, a worse version of the E4 turret, which can bounce the odd shot, but when you're fighting like other big high penetration TDs, they're not going to struggle. They're going to be able to go through your turret face, so it's not ideal. I made a mistake there trying to shoot that one shot. I bounced off of his gun. I got absorbed in his gun with the AP round. Probably should have swapped to one of the HESHs. I probably would have finished him off, the fact that he was so low on hit points there. So I don't really want this tank to cross, because he's then going to have an awkward angle on me, and I won't necessarily be safe where I am. I'll probably have to adjust. So I was looking to try and get shots as he crossed, but he's managed to get safe, which does cause a bit of a problem. Now this Ruthless I'm not spotted, so he's not looking at me. I'm going to try and get a shot in here. I wait, I aim my shell in, and I slap him again for 1,000. And you see that just went straight through the turret cheeks of that tank destroyer's TDs. This IS-4 then comes round. He's a bit oblivious. He hasn't actually noticed us, but he is awkward, because like I say, that tank destroyer has crossed to the hill, and now I'm thinking I'm probably dead at this point. I'm thinking he's going to pen me. I'll try to face him, and I'm going to try and shoot this E4 and finish him off. I do, but then I get slapped in the side by the other Ruthless, put me on 4 hit points. I think my game's over, but then that Ruthless dead in front of me actually bounces for 1,150. I really don't know how that happens, but thankfully he does, because now I know he's got a long reload, like 30-second reload almost. I'm going to be able to pull back, and I've lost my spot, and what I want to do now is pull right back, because the Ruthless on the right is trying to push us. Now what I need to do is pull all the way back so that the tank destroyer, the Ruthless on the ridge dead ahead, will not have shots at me, At this point, if this Ruthless comes around the corner, I can now shoot him, finish him off before he gets his turret round to kill me, but I won't get punished by the tank destroyer in the region of front because he won't have an angle to shoot me. So I'm just waiting now. I kind of think this Ruthless is going to come for us. I've already fully aimed my shot. If he's on the move, he's going to have to take time to aim his shot, or it's going to be on full bloom, while I'm already pre-aimed. So if he comes around this corner, I should be able to get my shot in before them, unless he gets lucky with a snapshot. Comes round, I think he does derp his shot. Like I say, he was on full bloom, and we managed to get the kill, putting us on to 3 kills, 5,300 damage with 2,000 assistance. So we've had a pretty nice game here, and we're just now, we're waiting for that shot from the Ruthless on the hill, just come straight past us. We know they're on reload. I'm safe to kind of turn around here. The other 2 tank destroyers, are spotted in the middle on the right, but I can't really cross right now because if I do get spotted, then it's game over and I get caught out in the open. So I'm just trying to be patient. I don't want to throw away a game which we're winning. There's the other tank destroyer, which is on like a one shot on that hill there. Gets spotted, we pick up a little bit more assistance, and he gets taken out there for spotting that tank. So now we know all tanks remaining. There's 2 in the ridge dead in front, but there is that tank destroyer covering. So again, I'm conscious if I get spotted, then I'm going to get taken out. But it looks like that tank's not going to push around. I'm going to take the gamble here, but I've just got a better crew and camo in this tank, and just see if we can spot them. It's 7 versus 2. I'm confident we're going to win. You see I've swapped to the AP rounds, sorry, the HE rounds, because I know how low hit points this tank is. I don't have to concern myself with penning it right now. I just have to hit it. Thankfully, I outspot them. I'm just going to wait, aim my shot, and we go that shot in, picking up our 4th kill of the game. Bring us an end to replay number 1. So let's just see how we got on before we move on. We get 4 kills, 5,700 damage, 2,000 assistance, 1,050 block, picking up the first class and the high caliber. And we have one more replay to show you, so I will move on to the final replay. Okay, so we're on to the final replay. This time we have a guest replay with our friend Reformed Wizzy. Looks like he's also running the ammo swapper as well. Like I say, it is a good equipment to use on a tank like this, but it is personal preference. You don't necessarily have to, but I do quite like to use it because I quite like to utilise all 3 rounds. He has taken slightly more HE rounds, and you are going to see how effective they can be in this game. So he gets a lovely little blind shot as a start for 430 odd. Unfortunately, it doesn't pen. Otherwise, it would have got a lot more damage. Just a bit unlucky, but he does pick up a little bit of damage there anyway. So initially, he's going to use a more traditional tank destroyer spot because of the enemy tanks who've kind of been lit up in front of him. He wants to try and get a few shots in while these tanks are spotted, and he's just going to stay patiently using his bush to increase his camo rating and just be a bit more patient for the damage to come in front of him. Again, there's no enemy front police in this game. There's no artillery. There is a light tank though, and there is again a lot of enemy tank destroyers, a lot of enemy Ruthlesses on the opposing team. So he gets a lovely shot with the AP rounds there through the Manticore, and that Manticore gets taken out, taking away the enemy vision, taking away one of the enemy light tanks there. Which is always nice on an open map like this. It's going to increase your chances of winning the game late game if there's less enemy tanks which can sort of zoom around and spot you, and you've got a bit more freedom basically to push up and try and even get some assistance damage without the light tanks being in the game. So having a look on the mini map here, there is obviously some tanks in the sort of top left position, and as well obviously tanks dead in front of him. So he's just kind of staying patient for now, looking to try and get some shots in where he can. He's already landed a couple, putting himself onto sort of just over 1,000 damage there, and it looks like he may get another opportunity to get a shot in that Sturm, but it gets shut down very quickly. And obviously this is not a tank you can snap those shots in. You have to kind of fully aim your shots, and sometimes some tanks can get fully spotted and then obliterated before you get a chance to pull the trigger. So it looks like he wants to try and make a few things happen because he stayed in that position for a while. He's got a little bit of punish out of it, but nothing's really happening now. So he wants to try and progress through to the other side and see what he can do. But as that happens, the team kind of push through on the flank on the left, and he gets a nice shot into that tank destroyer, which is kind of left on a one-shot now. So hoping our friendly teams can take that tank out. And puts him on to about 2,600 damage after 3 shots landed. So it's a pretty close game at the moment. It's pretty even all the way through, and he's going to try and progress across the map so we can get some better shots in. It looks like there's quite a few sort of camping tanks on the, so almost a camping tank destroyer hill on the left, which he wants to try and push across and maybe get a few shots in there. But as that happens, our team kind of start losing over that side. So now it's not really a good position to be caught out in the open there. So I think he's trying to push back forward and maybe actually deal with the tanks on the left-hand side of the map. But as that happens, the tanks do get spotted in the, like I say, the camping destroyer spot. So he's looking for shots. Doesn't quite have any shots at the moment. There is an enemy Avery on this hill, which is obviously a big threat because that Avery probably can pen you front on. This tank does have spaced armour though on the side of the tank and the rear of the tank. So sometimes those HESH shells you can shoot at the side and you think, oh, I did like 400 damage. Why did that not pen? But that's why you do have that spaced armour. So the enemy teams on the other side are kind of destroyed, and these tanks are not getting lit up in front of him. So he's going to try and deal with these tanks because it needs to kind of win an area of the map. Because if you don't win an area of the map, you can kind of lose all the map control. So he's kind of realised that he needs to try and deal with these 2 tanks on this hill. So he's going to go in and see if he can take care of it himself. He does have a friendly tank on the other side of the ridge. He does have cover support from the other side. But hopefully he can try and get around and get his shots in. So he spots enemy Avery. This is where he swaps to the HE shell with that 100 penetration and absolutely filthy, absolutely just basically one-shots that enemy Avery, which is absolutely disgusting. Puts him on to 4,300 hit points. Now this Ruthless is going to pen him, nothing he can do about that, but thankfully he had all of his hit points, so now he knows he has got the kill on this enemy Ruthless unless someone else interferes, because he's going to beat his reload. So he doesn't need to pen it, so he's just going to use the HE rounds to finish it off and now try and duck into cover because they're starting to go down on the numbers and there's shots potentially coming in. So he gets to cover as quickly as he can. Thankfully loses his spot as well, so now he's in a better position to can shoot these tanks which have pushed out into the open now, and he can use this ridge line to potentially get a few shots into these enemy tanks on the other side of the map. So we've had a decent game, 2 kills, 4,300 damage, and this tank's crossing. Like I say, tanks are in the cap, but it's an encounter, it's got a long cap, so it's not necessarily concerned that we're going to be capped out right now. It's not an easy cap to be capping out, and he'll have plenty of time to react. An enemy who does get spotted, and then he gets absolutely annihilated, putting him on to 5,000 damage there, with 4 tanks remaining. Still pretty close, 5 versus 4. Just looking to see if we can get shots into this other enemy Ruthless here on the other side of the map. And yeah, just waiting to try and get a shot. And obviously you've got that long reload, so you almost want games in this tank which are a bit slower in order to get those really big games. You're not going to get a massive game on a map where you've got a really strong team. You either want to be in a losing team or on a team which, you know, the damage is happening very slowly, so you get time to get your big shot in, reload for your long reload and get your another big shot in. You know, if you miss shots in this tank on fast speed games, you just don't get the damage because you just don't have enough time to get the reload in. So that is why you want to be hitting those shots. Gets a lovely shot into another enemy Ruthless, putting him on to 6,000 damage and 3 kills with 4 tanks remaining. There's 1 minute 40 on the clock, so he is going to try and move forward now because a lot of the damage is over that side. It gets a little bit easier when you've got 4 tanks left because you've got a little bit more, you know, control. You can try and use your camo. Does get a spot in the open there, so he's trying to get into cover, but nothing really has a clean shot at him. Manages to finish off that Ruthless there for picking up his 4th kill of the game, and with only now 2 enemy tanks remaining, with his friendly tanks closing in on them, he's just going to try and get closer to that cap to try and get some shots, see if he can get a bit more damage in. I think it's an enemy Avery left who's just got obliterated, then an enemy tank destroyer. and he's just trying to find shots. At this point, it's likely that unfortunately the friendly team are probably going to get the damage there first. He realises he's probably not going to make it over there, so just waiting to see if he can get any more damage out of this game. Trying to cross forward. Like I said, I've had a nice game here. 6,000 damage, 1,000 assistance. You've got 7,000 combined and 4 kills. But with 1 enemy tank remaining, which does get swiftly taken out, brings an end to the replay and the video. So let's just see how we got on. We got 4 kills, I'll say Wizzy got on. We got 4 kills, 6,000 damage, 1,000 assistance, and yeah, quite a nice little game there, picking up the high caliber. Like I say, is this tank worth it? I mean, it's a season pass reward, so generally I find that getting a tier 10 for like 4,000 gold, because also you get 6,000 as a season pass, 2,000 back in gold if you complete the season pass, is usually worth it. To be honest with you, do I think this tank's great? It's pretty average, I think. Out of all the other tanks, I prefer to play the FE 1005, if I'm honest. I don't think it's that amazing. Do I think it's good for the game? Not really. I don't think all these high alpha tier 10 game tanks, I just don't think it was necessary. I think you could have brought out a different tank, especially after just having the Avery. But that's just my opinion. Maybe you think otherwise, and that's completely fine. But yeah, thank you so much for your amazing support, and happy tanking.
Hadouken!